Hello, everyone. Welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Lagos. Let's bring you what has become a bombshell released by the federal government this Friday. The federal government has accused the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, of using Radio Biafra to instigate violence that led to the death of at least 175 security personnel and several other citizens. The Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, made the allegation at a news conference earlier today in Abuja. He alleged that Mr. Kanu also used the online station to incite members of the group to commit violent attacks against civil and democratic institutions across the country, especially in the southeast. The Nigerian government also says that it has established a connection between Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, and a firm being investigated for terrorism. Take a listen to the AGF.
Nnamdi Kanu, through an online call-in radio program, Radio Biafra, further instigated IFOB members to burn down all police stations and kill government security forces, which was carried out, and several security personnel, especially police officers, were killed and public and private properties destroyed. 175 security personnel were in consequence killed by IFOB KSN, comprising 128 policemen, 37 military personnel, and 10 other security operatives across the country. 4. Killing of prominent Nigerians. Recently, there were gruesome killings of traditional rulers, Obi-Wan of Okodo Autonomous Community, Eze and Yacho and Anayochukwu, Dureburo and Eze Samson Osunwam of Ihebi Nyore Autonomous Community, as well as the killing of Alhaji Ahmed Golak on 30th May 2021. That as a consequence of Nnamdi Kanu's broadcast, there were 19 attacks on INEC facilities that resulted in the destruction of offices as well as burning of 18 INEC logistical vehicles. Similarly, the federal government has received the report on financiers of Adeniyi Sunday Adeyemo, aka Sunday Igboho, the major financier of the fugitive and separatist, was found to be a federal lawmaker in the National Assembly.
That's the Attorney General of the Federation talking about Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho. We'll take a look at some of your political roundup stories, and we come to discuss the security in Anambra State ahead of the governorship election, and of course, the harmonization of the Senate and the House of Reps stands on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Is INEC getting the kind of support? Is INEC looking at what the National Assembly is doing? What exactly are we looking at in the realm of the amendment? We get all of these updates tonight, but let's take a look at your political roundup stories first.
The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, says the federal government is deploying technology innovations in all sectors of the economy, including fighting corruption. Mr. Onu was speaking on the sidelines of the unveiling of the new logo, vision and mission of the ministry held in Abuja.
Technology will now influence virtually all sectors, including agriculture, water resources, transportation, construction, health, education, sports, defense and security, financial management, the fight against corruption, and so on.
The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has accused the proscribed leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi, of using online radio Biafra to instigate violence and incite members of IPOB to commit violent attacks against civil and democratic institutions, particularly the security personnel, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the destruction of public and private property across the country. Anambra State Governor Mr. Willie Obiano has signed into law the Cattle and Other Livestock Open Grazing Prohibition and Ranches Establishment Law of Anambra State 2021 at the Governor's Lodge, Amobia. Governor Obiano states that the law will entrench sustainable peace in the state.
We've been managing crisis for a very long time, and like I kept saying then, there were short-term measures. This is a more permanent solution to that kind of challenge.
The Benue State Government has issued a 3-day ultimatum to local government chairmen and the State Universal Basic Education Board to weed out ghost workers, retirees, and even dead teachers from their payroll to enable the state save resources for the employment of 2,000 teachers.
We have taken 5 recent decisions that to do physical inspection and go there and do physical verification and also documentary verification and citing, so that at the end we should have an authentic list, because we believe that based on the number of teachers that have retired, we should have big allowance to be able to recruit even more than 2,000 teachers.
There you have it. You've been up to date with your political roundup stories. Then let's get into the business of tonight, which is about the Electoral Amendment Bill. I told you, it's like a warning that we will keep tabs until the very last moment when we are seeing that everything, the lines have been crossed, the dotted lines, and all the key things have been done in respect of the amendment to the Electoral Act. And so that's what part of what we're going to be doing tonight. So the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and members of civil society organizations are asking for quick harmonization of the 2021 Electoral Act Amendment Bill and transmitting the same for presidential assent before the end of the year. The electoral umpire is also worried about the security situation in Anambra State as it prepares for the governorship election there. Tonight, we take a deeper look at the Electoral Act Amendment and the security of the Anambra governorship election. I'm being joined on the program by a member of the Senate Committee on Electoral Act Amendment and a member of the Harmonization Committee, Senate spokesperson Ajibala Basiru, and Mr. Festus Okoye, and National Commissioner on Voter Education and Publicity. Also virtually will be joining us General Umahi, who will be with us virtually from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
First and foremost, I need to ask, don't let me ask the senator first, because senator is part of those who got born again, because they now looked at what the House of Reps were doing, and they went back, and I think they saw that what Nigerians wanted, and they went back to fix the Electoral Act Amendment based on the work they did. So you were at the harmonization meeting with the civil society and INEC, because I understand that that process is ongoing. Are you satisfied so far as INEC based on your expectations from the Electoral Act Amendment?
Well, you know, the difference between what happened this time around and what used to happen before was that from the beginning, the Senate Committee on INEC and the House Committee on Electoral Matters took civil society groups, the Office of the Attorney General, the Independent National Electoral Commission into confidence in terms of the processes and procedures for the amendment of the Electoral Act. So from the beginning, we attended meetings relating to the public hearing, and then during the technical committee sessions, we were also part of that particular technical committee. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation was represented. Some civil society groups and organizations were part of it. In fact, they gave me the privilege of chairing the technical committee session relating to the amendment of the Electoral Act. So far-reaching amendments were made to that particular document. Unfortunately, just one or two amendments dominated the entire space and sort of dampened the enthusiasm of Nigerians, and also blotted some of the other good amendments that were made to the electoral.
But that has been repaired, isn't it?
Yes.
Or do you still have some reservations?
Well, I think that the senior spokesman needs to tell us, because it is only both houses that carry out harmonization. So until they finish their harmonization and transmit the bill to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and is assented, we will not know what the final outcome looks like. And so we are just waiting and hoping that at the end of the day, that all those progressive changes that were suggested and some of the other progressive changes that were made to the electoral legal framework will be reflected, and that Nigeria's electoral...
Which are these two areas that that you thought that would be fixed? You mentioned you said two areas.
I was saying that only two issues dominated the entire landscape: the issue of transmission of election results and the issue of electronic balloting. Okay. But there were some other issues, some fundamental issues that were dealt with during the process of a public hearing and also during the technical committee sessions.
Also, the issue of mode of primaries in the party was a very major one. For some who are progressives in the ideology of democracy and constitutionalism, they're probably thinking in a different manner. We'll discuss that. Interestingly, we have a PhD law in person of Senator Bashiru, and we have a lawyer and an experienced person in civil society and INEC work. So it's a very good platform for us to discuss this. Senator, you are a representative of the people, and you get the feeling of whether people are happy or not. A lot of Nigerians perhaps may be happy with you and your colleagues with what looks like the backtrack and the, in quote, being born again, that some people said some of the senators saw the light, and they are fixing they're repairing what Nigerians were not happy about. But tell us, how far, what's the update? What can you tell us about the harmonization process?
First and foremost, I must first correct impression. When people talk in relation to National Assembly and you talk of Nigerians, the National Assembly is peopled by the only authentic elected representative of Nigerians. If there's any assembly, any group of people that can speak and speak by law, by constitution on behalf of Nigeria is the National Assembly. So you cannot, juxtapose an elected representative, no matter how informed their opinion is about, to juxtapose it as the basis of representation. The basis of democracy is the legislative arm. So when National Assembly speak, Nigerians are speaking, and nothing else. So I think that impression needs to first be corrected.
Is in representative
yes,
democracy?
I'm Dr. Ajibola Bashiru, but I'm not speaking in National Assembly as Dr. Ajibola Bashiru. I'm speaking as an elected representative of Osun Central Senatorial District. So is 109 senators and 360 House of Representatives. So you cannot equate in our opinion as if it's just an opinion. It's an opinion of representation. Of course, if our representation is not adequate, we'll subject ourselves to another election, and then the representative, the people, can decide to vote us out in that regard. So we must make a distinction between when opinion is made by an institution of democracy recognized by law and mere individual opinion. So, and on the issue of
apologies, let's straighten.
So we need to straighten that issue
because
very
when the
clearly.
Constitution provides the role of the legislative arm, 4, 5, 6, the powers of the executive, powers of the legislature, powers of the judiciary, and the extent, arbitrariness, that's where the issue of separation of powers comes. There is no absoluteness in any of the organs of government. And so for the people to say, these are the cry of Nigerians when people
which
speak,
people? You see,
representation of
the
Nigerians,
question you say
you
is
don't
that
have absolute
which people?
powers,
You see, we're not talking about absolute power.
Absoluteness.
I'm talking of issue of individual personal opinion and a collective opinion of a recognized institution of democracy.
But did you feel,
we need to make clear.
Did you hear what Nigerians said about?
You see, you did not do opinion poll. You did not conduct a referendum.
Senator,
if you want us to bring,
just
if you want to bring, yeah, we're 109.
Almost 200 million people.
109 representing. I'm representing about 1 million people.
So when I speak,
I have a mandate. I have a mandate of the people to talk until June 12, 2020. 23. If that mandate is withdrawn, they cannot speak. So it's not just another individual. I speak on behalf of the constituency. We need to get that right into our contention. Then now talking about issue, you cannot equate. What I'm saying, they're going to equate individual personal opinion with a decision or a legislative act of a National Assembly.
Why
now going into the issue
Senator,
you are talking about.
Why did the Senate now go back to revisit what you have done in
of
the
course,
first
part
place?
of our
If you think it was perfect,
our order, yes. Okay, where do you
if you think it was perfect, why did you go?
There's
Why did you retrace it?
There's a difference between perfection and whether the opinion is that of opinion of Nigerians. I say, continue. Who are the people? Did you conduct opinion poll? You see, problem you have autocratic minority in Nigeria that try to organize their thoughts as if the thought of the majority of the people. In the context of representation, will require you to conduct a referendum, a plebiscite, when you want to actually aggregate an opinion and come with authoritative decision of Nigerian. So what I'm saying is that as a National Assembly, we have the right to reconsider a law, even a law that is made and signed by the president 36 days after an amendment is brought. So we can always recognize our positions. We can only amend our position. It's not because of a shouting minority or individuals who are the elite in the society. We take decisions on behalf of people who have represented us. And now talking about the issue of electronic transmission.
Thank goodness that you traced.
And now, no, it's not you are bringing down the issue. The question to ask is that what informed our decision?
Okay, go ahead, Senator.
What informed our decision?
Tell us about what informed
our initial position was that we are concerned about two things: issue of possible hacking of by way of automatic transmission. We also concern issue of possible disenfranchisement of the Nigerian people if you want to do automatic transmission. Because service, irrespective whether even we say 98% of areas are serviced by adequate network, the 2% are also part of democratic process. Disenfranchising them will not serve the cause of democracy. In the course of our preparing for harmonization, we discovered that those two issues had actually been taken care of by Section 63 of the Electoral Bill. What is the provision of this Section 63? 63 provides that election must be concluded at polling units, result must be announced, must be recorded on the electoral form prescribed by the commission, at the same time must be signed by presiding officer and countersigned by agent where applicable. It is at that point, by subsection 5 of that Section 3, that result can be either transferred or transmitted. That addressed the two concerns that was our issue when we passed the amendment to Section 52 So it addressed the question of there is a paper trail now to ensure that there will be a trail of result at the polling unit. At the same time, subsection 6 of Section 3 of the bill provide for criminal sanction against a presiding officer transmitting what is not authentic and what has not been declared the polling unit. It's upon that review that our decision is now made to subject Section 52 of the Act on Electronic Voting, electoral provision, subject to Section 3 of the bill, and that was what was passed at the harmonization meeting. So it is a question of when you have a mischief and you have a lacuna and you have been able to see adequate safeguard to that lacuna. Nobody in his right senses will say Nigerian legislators should not be concerned about issue of possible hacking of election results or about issue of disenfranchisement, which are the two main concerns that inform the initial propositions.
Well,
and you can also now come.
Those all been settled
those
now
issues have been in the new bill. So what they have done is that in Section 52, we have adopted the fashion of the House, but then with making it subject to Section 3 of the bill, which provides that election must be concluded and results must be announced. My understanding of what INEC did, and I'm happy that Mr. Fisoko is here, in Edo and the Ondo election, was that results were transmitted after they might have been declared at the polling units. It's different from where you have automatic transmission of results, whereby as you are voting, it's getting populated in a particular server.
Is that going to be the case?
I'll give you a
just a moment. Is that going to be the case, Mr. Okoye? Is that what the Electoral Act amendment process looks like? Because what I perceive in the draft is the result is going to be transmitted. That's after it's been announced.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's after it's been announced. The pyramid election is the pyramid. Let me explain to you. The base of that pyramid is the polling units. Every other thing that happened after the polling unit is actually arithmetic computation or calculation. But then, in order to have transparency of the process and ensure that there is no manipulation at the collation level, when you do transmission immediately after results had been done at the polling unit level, you are not changing any results, but you are ensuring that you have seamless collation at the ward level, at the local government level, and at the collation level, which is what INEC did in Edo and did in Ondo State. So that even if you have if you are technologically savvy, you will be able to know in a matter of hours, maybe before 4 p.m. or 6 p.m., what the outlook of the total result will be in that constituency. But this is different from what happened in some jurisdiction. I monitor election in Venezuela, for instance, whereby as you are voting, the votes get populated in the central database. But then even in that place, there is a provision in their law that there must be paper audits of a proportion of polling units in an area to ensure the integrity of what has been done, or what has been done.
So, Senator, let me allow Mr. Okoye to, which part of this amendment satisfied your, because now I know that this is not going to be ready for Anambra. We'll not be able to use this amendment for Anambra. So it's few, elections maybe in Ekiti and Osun that we might be able to effect this, should the president assent to it. What are your biggest fears about some of the details that is coming out?
Well, we really don't have any fears because we are part of the process from the beginning. We know some of the provisions that we accepted and some of the provisions that we are not accepted. Now, I think that there are some provisions that are quite progressive. For instance, the new bill, depending on what they arrive at their harmonization meeting, gives us adequate time, for instance, between the conduct of party primaries and the conduct of elections, in which case we have almost a period of 6 months between the conduct of party primaries and the actual election. This will enable political parties, aspirants, and candidates exhaust pre-election challenges they have before we get to the actual election. So I think that that is also quite progressive. We also have a provision relating to the registration of political parties, which makes it mandatory that for a political party to be registered, that particular political party has to apply for registration at least 12 months before an election. That will also give us enough time to do our own paperwork, also give the party enough time to build structures and settle down and be ready for an election.
Does it talk about the registration? Because that's very contentious. I know there is a Supreme Court judgment in respect of the registration, isn't it?
No, the issue of the registration is a constitutional matter. Section 225A of the Constitution provides for the circumstances under which a political party can be deregistered. So it's a purely constitutional matter. It's not a matter within the contemplation of the Electoral Act. Right. Although we have the provision in the Electoral Act, but as you know, when a constitution has covered the field, no other law should also legislate in that particular regard. So what we have in the Electoral Act is surplusage because the Constitution has already covered the ground. So the issue of deregistration is a constitutional matter.
I see where INEC will ask the country for more staff, where the lawmakers are talking about one mode of primaries for party primaries. What do you think about that? Won't you be overstretched? Because now direct primaries means that you have to throw your officials. Let's assume that PDP, APC, and ABGA are doing their primaries in one day. Logistically speaking, would that be a nightmare for INEC?
It's speaking authoritatively, it's going to be a very, very serious matter. This is because if a political party, for instance, wants to conduct direct primaries and wants to do the direct primaries only at the registration area level, or what we call wards, the implication is that for in a presidential election, they're going to be doing their direct primaries in 8,809 registration areas. And the implication is that the Independent National Electoral Commission has to deploy monitors to all those locations. And we may not just deploy one monitor, we may deploy 2. So you have to times that by 2. Now, if the political party decides to do presidential primaries separately, do gubernatorial primaries separately, and do national and state assembly primaries separately. The implication is that we are going to go back to these 8,809 registration areas 3 times.
Multiply
for one political party.
Multiply it by the number of political parties that we have.
But I think that the good thing about the law is that if you also look at it, it gives the political parties a discretion to specify in their guidelines the mode of the direct primaries they want to conduct. But whatever mode of direct primaries you want to conduct, there are some political parties that have large membership. And the implication is that there is no way those political parties will not do their this thing at the registration area level.
The amendment that is going on states is saying that there will be only one mode of primaries for the political party. But I'll allow the senator to tell us what that means after we come back from this break, everyone. It's going to be interesting. We need to know what exactly informs the National Assembly wanting to revert to one mode of primary for party primaries. We continue our conversation after the break, everyone. And then, of course, we know that General Obi Umahi has since joined us, and we will talk about security in Anambra governorship election. Plus, Mr. Ben Etiaba, the AA governorship candidate in the Anambra governorship race, will also join us to share his manifesto, the agenda of the AA. That's going to be next part of our conversation, everyone. Join us again. Mr. Festus Okoye, INEC National Commissioner on Voter Education and Publicity, and General Obi Umahi, who has since joined us virtually from Lagos. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We'll come to you just in a moment, General. But let's look at some of this matter relating to the electoral amendment. Mr. Okoye was explaining to us how much of a logistical nightmare it could be for INEC. I could see it from a distance, and I know what it means. Just multiply the representation, because the law also prescribes that INEC must monitor. INEC must be there. So multiply by all the political parties. Should even 10 political parties decide to do it on one day, it's going to be a major problem. Did you consider that?
Let me first say that for the purpose of Nigerians watching us, it's good to spotlight what are the key issues, even in harmonization, so that we don't run into the problem of zoning down on issue of direct primary. One of the areas which has been done in the harmonization committee is to see beyond car reader utilization. Now, the law, section 43, now recognize other technological device that could be used for the purpose of accreditation and identification of voters. Secondly, too, section 43 also allow for other electronic device by way we are making progress, advancing electoral
you make it more generic.
More generic in that regard. Then now, on the question of section 87, which is about primary or no direct primary. Speaking for myself as Ajibola Bashir, not as Senate spokesperson or as Senate, conceptually, I don't even see why the Electoral Act should provide for any mode of primary at all.
Why?
As far as I'm concerned, a political party is a voluntary organization, and they should be free to determine who fly their tickets. In fact, the classical conception of political party is a group of people who have ideas that they want to put forward and put the best among them to put forward. The best among them may not be the most popular, may not be the most resourceful, but the problem we have with introducing statutory provision on so-called internal democracy is even to dilute the idea of classical conception of political party. Now, the section 87 that was introduced and in the extant law provide for a party choosing between direct or indirect primary. You also know that except in very few instances, like my state, Osun, in 2018, people always have taken it as a matter of rule that you must go by way of indirect primary. And what have we seen with indirect primary? With all self-responsibility, you have seen purchase of delegates, dislocation of delegates for the purpose of getting a victory that is undeserved. And of course, you see heavy politics of money bag, and you also see alienation of the bulk of the member of the party in terms of the democratic process of that particular political party. You also see a situation whereby the acrimony that goes into election of party representative becoming very acrimonious. You see parallel Congress, you see a lot of litigation on the issue of who is in charge of executive, who's not in charge of executive. So there are also very incipient danger in the indirect primary. So
Senator,
it is the mischief of the indirect primary being almost becoming the sole means of determining our election that we talk of direct primary. Now, talk of direct primary, I agree with you that there will be logistic requirement. But the question you ask is that democracy itself, and we must face it, is never a cheap endeavor.
But the fact, I mean, the argument again is that, I mean, thank God that we have lawyers here. The question is that the essence of democracy is the multiplicity of ideas and opinions, and the choices that you have.
There is never a single idea Senator, of what democracy is all about. I'm a philosopher.
No, but Senator, the logic and the philosophy around democracy is choice. That you have opportunity to choose.
The ambit of the law. Between the ambit of the law.
So if you don't allow political parties to be able to choose the kind they have options, is that not arbitrariness?
You didn't even get my point, Sheung. My point is that the law itself, Section 87, is needless in the classical conception of democratic politics. If the logic of your politics are democracy being a matter of choice, why can't political party have their candidate by way of consensus? Why can't they have it by way of
our laws? Why can't that there will be problems?
Why can't they have emergence of candidate by way of caucus? And so on and so forth. So there are different ways by which candidates
issue of security now. Let me ask, Senator, when are we likely to come to the end of this harmonization?
The harmonization, I can tell you, as at this morning, the exercise is being completed, and even the INEC representative, the chairman, was there at the opening ceremony, and also our partners globally, and it was an open and transparent processes. All the areas have been harmonized, and hopefully we will. The leadership may have to convene the House and the Senate for the purpose of taking that issue, so that we will not have to wait till the November resumption, because for now we are on recess working on the appropriation. But because of the seriousness of the exercise, the recommendation of the Administration Committee is to get the leadership to convene an emergency session so that we can.
Is it statutory for after harmonization to bring it back to the floor?
We don't have the power.
So for Nigerians to understand.
So we have to come back and adopt that report. And fortunately, there are no area of controversy. There is no recommitter of any provision. So, and we are confident, going by precedent, that the president will assent to it timeously.
Obviously. Hopefully. Let's bring in General Obi Umahi. Thank you so much, General, for joining us tonight. Give us a sense of what you make of what is happening in Anambra State. There was a very stern warning from the president that he will not allow any breakdown of law and order, and the fact that non-state actors cannot take over the climate in Anambra State and elections must happen. What do you make of that stance and what is happening in Anambra State?
I think the president, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is absolutely correct. Nigeria is not a failed state. And if any part of Nigeria is faced with uncontrollable insecurity, it means that Nigeria as a whole is sick with the same level of insecurity. So I think the president is right, and everything must be done to take absolute control of the security situation in Anambra State in preparation for the forthcoming election. And I think election can be carried out in Anambra very confidently if some steps are taken. And the steps I recommend are as follows. Number one, there should be what is called preliminary operation in the entire Southeast to drive out this unknown gunmen from the entire Southeast, which means that this operation will go on in all the Southeast states simultaneously, so that there will be no sanctuary in any of the Southeast states for these unknown gunmen, or whatsoever they call themselves. And thereafter, the Southeast would have been shaped and prepared for the Anambra State election, which is coming up 6th November. And for the election proper, as the second thing that should be done, there is need for a force surge in Anambra State to make sure that even fly with a weapon cannot pass unnoticed. That is the only way the Anambra State election can be can be carried out without interferences.
Let me ask you, on an election day, interestingly, we have 5 states in the southeast, and bordered by Delta, Abia, and Enugu, if I'm not wrong. So in that sense, usually what we see is the shutdown of or the locking of the entrance and the exit into the state. Aside that, would you be suggesting any other measure to ensure, because this happens just a few hours before the election, would you be suggesting some other measure to ensure that there won't be any infiltration before the election?
Yes. If preliminary operations are carried out, these miscreants that are called unknown government, even if they are well known, there will be enough heat will be brought on them that they will run very, very far from the southeast. And I also suggest that on the day of the election, the security in other southeast states should not lower their guard. They should be at maximum alert to ensure that miscreants are not passed through any of these and fed into Anambra State to cause mayhem.
But if you look at what is happening, you see the word you use, unknown gunmen. Some people have disagreed with the use of that term. That there are no unknown gunmen in the southeast. In fact, they are known. Most of them are from the local communities. Do you agree with that stand?
Of course, I agree very well. And that is why we have insisted that the Southeast governors should form the Southeast Security Outfit, so that members of that outfit will help security agencies to fish out the unknown gunmen, or what I may call ESN. They may help to fish them out or put them on the run perpetually.
Okay. Mr. Okoye, in 2017, the last election in Anambra State, less than 23% of voters came out. Are you afraid that you might have less than that this time around?
Well, the trajectory is slightly different now. The challenges are slightly different, and the issues are slightly different. We have challenges, no doubt, especially relating to issue of security. We were hopeful that we are going to record tremendous success in relation to voter turnout before some of these issues crept in. If you recall, we expanded access to polling units, and we created additional polling units throughout the Federation. And those polling units will come into force for the first time in Anambra State. And that is why we are going to have a total of 5,720 polling units for this particular election. So we made access slightly less cumbersome for people, and we created additional polling units and took them closer to the people. So we felt that at least with this, we are going to record tremendous success in terms of voter turnout. You also recall that the continuous voters registration exercise was deployed and devolved to the registration areas in Anambra State. And that increased the number of persons who registered through the CVR. So we also felt that most of the young people who registered online and captured their biometrics at the level of the local governments and the registration areas will also come out en masse to come and exercise their democratic franchise. But we believe that if we what the traditional rulers are saying, what the religious leaders are saying, the efforts being made by civil society groups and organizations and the media comes to fruition, there's a possibility that despite the huge security presence we are going to witness in Anambra, that the people will feel sufficiently confident to come out and exercise their franchise. But it's going to be, it's not going to be an easy road. But we are still hopeful that the turnout will be good.
We need to wrap up now because of our time.
Yes.
The federal government is planning heavy deployment of security. Does that encourage INEC?
Well, yes and no. You see, deployment of heavy security can cut both ways. One, it can give the people confidence that they can come out and exercise their democratic franchise under a very secure environment. On the flip side of it, it may also scare some voters from coming out because of the huge security presence. But we believe that if the security agencies act professionally, if they are very, very civil, if they are very, very ethical, that they can inspire confidence and the people will come out to come and vote.
Let me just get a 30 seconds reaction of what is happening. I mean, this is an unusual situation, extraordinary situation we are seeing in our elections. Just your view in 30 seconds before we close.
I'm very confident that election in Anambra will hold, and a winner will clearly emerge in a free and fair contest. 2017, our runoff to Anambra election was as hot as this. I think Mr. Okoye will tell you. But I know that now that we know the extent of the security challenges, it will be deployed. But just as been said, let our security men be civil. Let them not be biased against any political party so that we can have a free and fair contest where people would freely exercise their franchise.
General, give us a final thought on, before we take a break, on the heavy deployment that is being envisaged by the federal government. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Just in 30 seconds before we close. I'm not sure we have the general again. General, just in 30 seconds, if you can hear me, I wanted to get your view on the plan to deploy heavily for the Anambra governorship election. Is it a good or a bad thing?
I think it's very good. But what is even better is to ensure that all Mondays that will come before the 6th of November, that people are at liberty to transact their businesses, go about their normal duties in Anambra and the rest of the Southeast. That is the only way to build confidence in people to come out on the 6th of November to vote. If you deploy, no matter how massive your deployment is, on the 5th, and hoping that people will develop the confidence to come out to vote on the 6th, that may not be possible. You may just have
Thank you so much for your time tonight. Mr. Festus Okoye, National Commissioner at INEC on Voter Education and Publicity, as well as the Senate spokesperson, Senator Ajibola Basiru. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
More or less an activist you are than a politician. Thank you so much.
I'm elected by my people.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, one of those who are eyeing the seat of the #1 seat in Anambra State, Mr. Ben Etiaba, joins us next on the program. His ambition and the AA agenda for Anambra State. He'll be telling us about it after this break. Join us again. So much everyone for staying with us in the midst of the chaos and the fears about security in Anambra State. One thing is paramount: those who want to govern the state have their agenda and their manifesto. Tonight, I'm being joined by the Action Alliance governorship candidate, Mr. Ben Etiaba. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Seun. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Delighted.
You left the APC.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Okay, I said I did, but I think the right thing to say is that the party left me rather than that I left APC.
The party is still where it is.
No, he left me. He left me.
You didn't leave. You,
no, the party left me.
Explain to us what you mean.
Yes, what I meant by that was that I joined the party 2.5 years ago. And the idea was to sort of be part of the primaries and hopefully emerge as the candidate of APC and, sort of win the election if it pleased God. But what happened, and I think I'll just leave it at that.
What happened?
What happened.
Are you sure changed?
Yes.
Did someone promise you the ticket and didn't renege on the promise?
No, I think I was listening to the senator earlier, who thought the party could do whatever they wanted and choose whoever they wanted. Basically, that happened, and I wasn't going to fight the party. So now it's serious enough about contesting to see if I can save. Was
there any fraudulent acts in the process?
I'm not sure I'll want to come here to allege that because the matter is sub judice at the moment. It's before
you've gone to court?
I haven't gone to court. It wasn't going to be worth my while to go to court. Others have. But there's, I think, the date for the judgment is December 20, and I'll leave it at that.
That's going to be after the election?
After the election, yes.
But why do you want to be governor?
Okay.
You're doing well as an accountant.
Yes, thank you so much.
A lot of people will think that should suffice, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I feel flattered coming from you. I'm running for this office because I'm frustrated, and I'm sure you are frustrated too. I'm frustrated with the way things are going in my state. I'm frustrated with the way things are going in the southeast in Nigeria, and somehow in Africa. I believe that all the ills we're feeling at this point all boil down to one issue: leadership failure. And I, with every sense of humility, do believe that I have something to offer. Different thinking, moving a different direction, noticing what the problems are and solving the problems and not looking at the wrong things and attacking the wrong issues. So I'm in the race to see if it pleased God to take Anambra State out of darkness and into light.
Literally, or that's...
Yeah, you could say literally out of darkness into light, because I say, what do I mean by darkness? Not just political darkness. Everything is going wrong, okay? Everything is going wrong in security. You've been dealing with the issues of, around security in Anambra and other regions, other states. In education, we're not where we should be. In the health sector, the place, we don't have a single world-class hospital in Anambra State. In the 60s, we were able to feed our people using agriculture and to industrialize our region using agriculture. It's not happening anymore. Infrastructure, everywhere is dilapidated. I don't know the last time you were in Anambra State. We have the best network of roads of any state in Nigeria. But all these roads are pothole filled. They've all failed, apart from a few. So there's so much to do. And we're, again, lining up to, to have another 4 to 8 years of doing the same thing the same way and expecting to see a different result. No, I am frustrated because I think we can do better. I'm not big-headed enough to think I'm better than anyone else. But I think I'm confident enough to tell you that I think differently and I'll take the state in a different direction. And that's the only way we can achieve the result we seek.
You say you will make Anambra a one-town state.
Yes, I promised that. Okay. Anambra State has the smallest landmass of all the states in Nigeria, with the exception of Lagos State. The landmass of Anambra State is 4,844 square meters, kilometers. And we've never taken advantage of that small space and that small size. You can network Anambra State, for instance, using a monorail. Okay, you can develop various centers of excellence, sporting excellence, in all the 21 local government areas of the state. You can have industrial hubs in the various senatorial zones. That means that anybody in Owerri Zukala, one end of the state, will not have to go to Oka to look for employment, because there's something near enough to him to create enough jobs in various industries we need to set up, or create an enabling environment to set up. It is such a small place.
I mean, does the economy of the state, the capacity I mean now, allow for the kind of idea that you have? You are an accountant. Yeah. Have you done the mathematics?
Yes, I have done the mathematics. At the moment, no, the economy doesn't allow that for this to happen.
But where will we get the funds?
No, we're coming up with a different set of ideas, the new set of aggressive policies. Let me say, for instance, in IGR, every month we collect less than Enugu State does, from historical figures. And how can that be true? Anambra is a major hub. many markets. Enugu State is just a civil servant service state, and they are collecting more money than we are recording in Anambra State. You know why?
Are you saying that the tax process is not right, or what?
No, it cannot be right, because the monies are actually not going into the government coffers. I can tell you that. Okay, you have this thing being enforced with all manner of archaic methods, you know, sort of mpiawazo and carrying,
So what would you do differently?
What I'll do differently?
You think you have a better idea?
Oh, definitely. Most of these things are technological, you know, IGR driven these days. Okay, we've gone beyond, you know, sort of terrorizing people, harassing people to pay up. Okay, first of all, assess properly. Make sure nobody pays more than they should pay. And incidentally, I can often tell the Anambra that you will not pay a penny more than a naira, a kobo, more than you're paying at the moment. Assess properly, collect properly, record properly, and ensure that the money goes into government coffers for the benefit and development of the state. If you do that, believe me, in the first 4 years, we will increase IGR by at least 50% minimum.
I mean,
that's an IGR alone.
You think that you can win this election?
If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be here.
You think you have the financial muscle to also do that?
It's not always about money. That's the mistake.
Money is a key factor.
Money is one of the factors, but it's not the only one.
Do you think you have the political support on the ground?
I believe that if I'm able to harness the support of the frustrated youth of Anambra State, that we can effect change, pretty much the way Obama did in the US a few years ago. Okay, you have seen, yesterday was the anniversary of the end SARS riots. Did anybody pay the youths of Nigeria to motivate them into rioting, into saying enough was enough? No. We have enough people who are not happy with the status quo. The issue has always been, who is there to galvanize them? Who is there to give the message that will rekindle?
So is Ben Eteba the person?
I believe so. That's why I'm in this race.
Should you lose this election, would you be willing to work with anybody who wins? Because you come with a lot of profile.
Yes.
I mean, quality profile.
Yes. You can work. I can work with anybody. It doesn't have to be me. So long as the election is free and it's fair, Anambra elects the person they want, I will support that person. And it just doesn't mean that I'll work with them in that office. I can support them in various ways. Okay? Consultancy, advice, or whatever. I'm not seeking employment.
Who is bankrolling you?
Okay.
Because that's a major one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Where are you getting the funds from?
Okay, of all the candidates, we have 18 candidates running in this election. I think my campaign may probably be the least funded. So I'm being funded by the young ones. You're a young man, people like you, students who like what I represent. For years, I've been mentoring students, a lot of young ones in the Southeast. Okay, that's what I've always done. And quite a lot of them are coming together, you know, donating stuff. And that's what we're running on. We don't have any big money backers.
Mr. Ben Eteba is an accountant, but he's running on the platform of AA in the Anambra governorship election. But I wish you the very best in this race.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you for having me.
That's our program for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.